actually a little bit of blue sky up there. For some reason, I still can't work the camera thing. It's working. I'm sure it's CPU. They haven't figured it out. They don't know how to. See, a part of the phone's function, try not to get angry when I talk about this, part of the phone's function was actually paid for when you bought it. And if the software is designed in such a way that somebody can co-opt most of that and use it for speech recognition so that they can target advertising to you, and then put some fuck-witted piece of shit in the keyboard chain, which under some circumstances turns off just as you're about to hit a key and causes you to press a key underneath the application, or stuff like that. So in order to put stuff like that, or give stuff like that on the phone, you actually subtract from the function, that part of the function of this phone is to work as a camera and to autofocus and to adjust exposure. I guess I haven't read the terms of use, and that's in there somewhere. There's something to protect your corporation from it. Can you imagine trying to set up a business and having to protect yourself? Because, you're a few people, you're making some piece of software, and you've got to pay a lawyer to draft 3,000-word terms of service agreement in order to protect yourself from being sued. So the whole thing is a way to fuck. I was going to talk about the climate and citizen science, and if you read Henri Atlan's Uncommon Finalities essay, you see where language is the abstraction between layers, where the new phenomena are manifest and articulated in speech, in acts of communication. Then you think about the way climate is modeled. There's a language going on in microclimates and groups of microclimates, things which don't even have names. There are systems in operation. If you go and spend a year in Sorata in Bolivia, you'll see that around September it's tiempo del viento. Every afternoon, almost without fail, you get a wind blowing up from Lake Titicaca. And if you're trying to model climate, that's one of the mechanisms that you can uncover and use to understand the climate. These systems are interacting. But in order to be able to do that, we need to be able to use computers to collect data, and we need to be able to reanalyze it. We don't want the data ending up in some corporate database somewhere. The data needs to be in a universally usable, machine-readable form so that it can be analyzed by fairly well-defined statistical, mathematical processes. There's another bit of sunshine coming. And it's the same with movements of animals. They are in that because they're much more closely coupled with the environment. You will get systems involving animal behavior, and in Bolivia as well. For instance, the trees had started to bloom months earlier than they normally did, and that actually indicates a fundamental shift in the whole cognitive process of the ecosystem. So the thing started talking a different language and produced some amazing weather patterns. There's a big bird of prey just alighted in that dead tree down there. That was him calling. Or her. And a lot of those animals are very intelligent, flocks of lorikeets and things. They were hilarious in Sorata. They were a nuisance. They would come up in the trees and they'd all sit up there saying, "Fire, fire, fire." And all I could do was agree with them. But if people plant crops and interact with the species in a cognitive way, some really great stuff is going to happen. Nobody knows what, because it hasn't been done yet. I did have this feeling that it was done in the late 20th century by the Cowpolican community of that valley was doing some incredible things. There's some really beautiful landscape architecture and things. Now I kept thinking of my mother, wishing my mother could see it, because it's really amazing what they've done. These old colonial houses, most of which were burned down in a period of a year, and the gardens are all overgrown. The houses are now, the lands are now occupied. But the houses haven't been rebuilt, and the lands are eroding. But the colonial houses in the town are still there, and the quality and style of architecture and materials and techniques that they used were just far exceeding anything that I've ever seen in Britain. They had paint, they had mauve purple leaf paint that was on those walls. It was over 100 years old, and it was, I don't know what it looked like when it was new, but it was good. And it was made from locally sourced lime and pigments. And they did this incredible and tasteful plaster work. Stucco. What a great place. But it all got burned. There was an uprising. And people don't talk about what really happened. I think it was just a wealth gap. But Bolivia is a really great place. Those buildings in Sorata had vaulted brick ceilings.